Drugs on my bed, I might pass out. 50 grand on my neck, I might lash out. But I can't cause I gotta go to class now. It's a trap, but I guess I gotta trap out. Trolls under bridges, I burn them bitches. Write sermons for serpents and stitches. That's them blue boys, we came from outer space just to create the cool noise. Radiate through melody while I destroy.
Criticism, this is the discourse, my friend. Discourse.
Where's Toby? Raise your hand, Toby.
Dude, I saw that literally.
So many good things about you, Toby.
Hold on.
That's good news.
Good news. I saw that right as I was finishing work, and I didn't add it to the playlist. I have to watch that. That's sorry, Tulsi. You're an idiot. There we covered it. Tulsi sucks. All right, immediately have to go to SHAPiRO. That's gonna be on Spotify. I want the whole kip and caboodle. Fuck you. Fuck you, face.
Joe Rogan podcast, check it out.
The Joe
Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night.
All day. Ben Shabibo, great to have you on, buddy.
Well, hello, Joe Rogan.
Good to see you, buddy.
It's good to see you outside LA.
I know. I'm a
There it is, dude.
free man now, and as are you.
Oh, yeah.
We've escaped the criminal communist state of California.
Jesus
Both look about
Christ,
25%.
dude. I like to believe that Joe says that kind of half joking, but like Ben Shapiro doesn't, so I think it's not really funny, dude. Oh no.
I'm happier.
I'm
Oh, this is gonna
definitely
be
happier.
painful,
It's
dude.
way
This is gonna
easier
be
to
so
live here. It's
fucking-
like less traffic. And just forget about all the draconian
Jesus Christ,
COVID
God.
restrictions and dealing with an inept bullshit
Draconian.
government, which is what it
You
is.
saved yourself some money, too.
It's that, but it's people are nicer.
Yes.
It's like you're living in regular folks. Like California is so polluted by show business. It's hard to really reconcile it. It's hard to really understand.
Yeah, that's actually why I found zero success in Hollywood, was because everyone was very mean to me. So
That's not normal. This
I had to go and start the Daily
is
Wire.
regular people.
It's crazy. So I grew up in LA, right? I mean, I was in LA all the way up until last year, basically. And the only 3 years I wasn't in LA, I was in Boston for law school. So
I was just thinking, when is he gonna have this idiot on the show again? Because like, he's already there. I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Rogan's the newest. He's gonna leave the Spotify deal once his contract's up, and he's gonna sign on to Daily Wire at this point.
big blue cities my entire life. And when you grow up in LA, it's like there's no other place. It's like growing up in New York. There's no other place that exists in the country. And then you leave, you're like, whoa, the rest of this country is kind of fantastic. And
Yeah.
people are, they're way nicer, just way nicer. Like in LA, there's a thing you do where you walk down the street, if you're not driving, you walk down the street, you spot somebody who you don't know, you kind of lock eyes with them. The first thing you do is you look away, right? You don't catch eyes with somebody and have a conversation with them just in the normal course of business in LA or New York. You move outside LA or New York, you're walking down the street, you lock eyes with somebody, you're like, hey, how are you?
Yeah, they say hi.
It's crazy. It's like a crazy thing.
Well, there's a thing that happens when you just get too many human beings living
Iconic.
together where people become a nuisance.
Hold on, go.
It's just the population density of Los Angeles is replicated in rat population density studies that they've done. Have you ever seen those?
No, I haven't seen these.
They're really fascinating because what they do is they've taken rats and they take them and they have a certain number of these rats together and they behave fairly normally. And then as they increase the population of rats, you start seeing what you see in the large cities. You start seeing rats like huddled in the corner nodding and shit. You see like mental illness. You see violence. You see all kinds of stuff that you see in populations of humans. And it's just... they become a factor and a negative factor instead of, obviously rats aren't communicating like people do where it becomes a community.
Yeah,
and you
obviously,
look forward to
yeah.
seeing those people, but they have some sort of...
Joe Rogan. People are not like rats. Genius. What does he say? He's comparing the people who live in California to rats, which is great stuff. But they are not actually rats. Yeah, rats cannot communicate as humans can. So
Houses, it's crazy.
If you were a real conspiracy theorist, if you're a real tinfoil hat,
Which Joe Rogan isn't.
you would look
Yeah,
at the
no.
LA district attorney and you would go, what the fuck is going on here? Like, is this a plot to ruin the city? Is this? I mean, is this?
Yes.
Is
Yeah, according to
China
Ben
hired this
Shapiro.
guy?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? That
Between that and
Gascon
San
guy?
Francisco, yeah, between that and San Francisco, taking beautiful
It's
cities.
wild.
and
This
just
is
destroying
so. This
the
is
cities.
gonna be so
and
tough.
by the way,
dude.
not doing any.
Like, I see the writing on the wall.
Oh yeah.
Two intellectual heavyweights here, really challenging the systems that be.
De Blasio is the worst example of a mayor I've ever seen in my life. He's a stunningly incompetent person. When I see him talking,
True.
when I see like what's important to him, and like when he was
That's why we
eating
needed
cheeseburgers
Larry
talking
Elder,
about the
right?
Vaccine, like, you can get a free vaccine.
true
You
leader.
Understand that fries are with this as well. Like, you're eating terrible food. This is what makes people sick. What the fuck, man?
There was a running gun battle for the last couple of years over.
We must end the tyrannical COVID precautions so we can enforce the more tyrannical dietary legislation. We must control what people eat and how much they exercise per day, or else they will be jailed. This is the hierarchy of Joe Rogan. It's a beautiful thing. It's all about freedom.
Who was the worst mayor? They had like Jenny Durkin in Seattle, who was allowed.
You don't have to wear a mask, but if you try to eat French fries, I fucking swear to God, it's straight to the gulag with you. All right?
Chaz Chop to happen, and then you had Garcetti in L.A., who's allowing riots to happen in De Blasio, New York. You had Lori Lightfoot in Chicago. It's like a running gun battle over who is going to be the worst public servant.
Yeah, I don't know who's
dude, how does Kyle justify this, right? Like, Kyle is probably the best person Joe Rogan's ever had on, like, in terms of being a lefty. I would maybe say Pac-Man, but he's almost like too much of a lib that I don't even want to like accept him or own him, you know, like he just does not interest me. But how does Kyle, who's someone who I have at least a modicum of respect for, and I think I agree with much more than I disagree with, how does he justify this? Ben Shapiro's been on like 3 times when Kyle's been on like twice, and one of those times was like the election special or whatever. And, you know, he kind of got shut out with Tim Dillon there. He had some good points on that one. I'll give him some credit. But it's just like, this is just so embarrassing, bro. He's just about to rehab. Like, if you take this from, he's gotten progressively nicer to Ben Shapiro. Like, the first time Ben Shapiro was on, he was a little combative. I thought it was kind of stupid what he was combative over. Which, looking back, he was probably almost long conning us by, like, being like, yeah, see, I'm going to start by having this conflict that doesn't actually really amount to anything for either of us, but then, you know, 3 years down the line, now I can just wholeheartedly agree with all the fucking conspiratorial nonsense that this idiot spews out, and people dumb enough to still be listening to me will think why I left the lefted.
70 shots were fired on a
Joe Rogan
street.
is a full-blown
There's video footage
Facebook
of this
uncle at
happening.
this point. I was watching, oh my God, dude, his Instagram the other day, he literally posted this insanely boomer meme, like poorly cropped even, like that fine little sprinkle of detail. It was like, well, I gotta find this, bro. It was like America before the sissies took over. And it's like a kid on a tricycle holding a shotgun, like literally like a 3 or 4 year old. Like, is that all I get to see if I'm not? Jesus Christ. All right, log in. You know, I mean, that's how it goes sometimes. I don't understand why Instagram is like opposed to having a browser app. Oh, I actually think he deleted it. I don't see it on his page anymore. That one was super embarrassing. He definitely got clowned on in the comments. You know, that's so funny. He totally deleted it. Oh my God. What a fucking boomer, dude. He's so pathetic. This man is the most beta man in the universe. That's the truth of it. Like, he goes where the fucking wind blows. He has not had an original thought in his entire life.
It's terrible. You know how many people are becoming Republicans? I think you do.
I do.
lot.
I do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I have
look,
friends.
my new home state, Florida, that was
Yeah.
a 50-50 state. That ain't a 50-50 state no more.
No, it's probably 75-25 or something.
I mean, right
crazy.
now, so it's moved. It's
He's not entirely wrong here, but that's what's so crazy is that it's just that the Democrats have no message. Like, the Republicans have a message. It's a very clear message, you know, and it's a white supremacist message. Let's just call it what it is. It's one of, we need an America that is ruled by the white Christian folk. And if other people want to live here, they can. That's the new line, you know, like they've progressed their message from, you know, just even probably just 20, 30 years ago. At least some of them, enough. But you have to live under our rule, you know. And that's an attractive message to people. It's a message. It's better. What do the Democrats offer? Well, you'll probably still live under basically white supremacy, but maybe we'll put out some CIA ads that talk about mental illness. So that's cool. But that's not a compelling message. You know, that's not a message of change. It's not a message of rebuilding better, of building back better, literally. They couldn't even get that. That wasn't really a build back better plan, but they couldn't even get their fucking half-assed build back better plan passed. So yeah, people probably are turning to someone who has something to believe in. And that's scary, bro. But it is also funny. I always, you know, you got to question anybody who's willing to sacrifice literally everything, because Republicans want to destroy this country, or for what it, you know, destroy what it stands for, and you're willing to go with that just because Democrats, like, you know, do some cringy stuff sometimes. That speaks a lot to your character if you're the kind of person who would fall for that.
It's never going to be a 75-25, but it should be. But right now, there's news that the Democratic Governors Association, right, which funds all these gubernatorial races. Remember, DeSantis only beat Andrew Gillum by like 40,000 votes in the last election cycle. DeSantis is just going to wipe the floor with his opponent. The DGA just pulled out. They said, we're not going to spend any money in Florida.
Really?
Yeah.
They're not going to win. It's what he's done is amazing, because he's changed a lot of people's ideas about the way this should be handled. Because so many people, even people that came on my podcast today, were talking about criminally incompetent, not today, but in the past rather, were saying how criminally incompetent he is, and people are dying on the streets. Now you look at the COVID cases. He has less COVID cases than most other states. I think it's only second to California. There's if you look at the overall deaths, people were talking about the deaths, but when you make it age adjusted,
it's an old state. It's the second oldest state in the country after Maine, right? And Maine has like 7 old people in a moose.
This is, by the way, coming from someone who got COVID in Florida. I got COVID.
Exactly, bro. That's the thing I've been saying since last year about Florida, is that they're able to keep a lot of their numbers down because most of their numbers get exported to other states who are trying to lock down. And that's why we have a problem, bro. Like, it is a group effort. You don't get to just be your little fucking fiefdom of geriatric vacation pleasure, you know? Like, we're in this together. And Florida has done unprovable but arguably irreparable damage to our attempt to get rid of COVID. And that's just a fact. Like, people who don't give a shit in their own states but are probably still at least on some level forced by their state's regulations to take some certain level of precaution, go to Florida on their vacation, fuck around, don't listen to any of the rules because they don't have to, or any of the suggestions, not even fucking rules, because obviously there are no rules in Florida for this stuff. And then they go back to their home state, and then it takes about 2 weeks to get the virus, or within 2 weeks. That's longer than any vacation will tend to be, and they bring it to their home state. So it's so fucking disingenuous to be like, yeah, Florida showed a whole different methodology for dealing with this, where the reality is if every state had done what Florida did, we would be in that 2 million number. We would have been in that 2 million number by the end of 2020. That was the projection of if everyone just did nothing. And instead, we didn't quite hit that maximum, but we didn't do well either. And that was because we didn't have every state on board with at least just some bare minimum fucking regulations. And that's another thing I think people forget. I hear Republicans make the joke a lot, like, oh, remember that 2 weeks? Yeah, it was only going to be 2 weeks. Look at us now, huh? It's been the longest 2 weeks ever. It's been over a year. It's like, you didn't even do the 2 weeks, though. Like, Florida didn't do the 2 weeks. They didn't shut down like that. Like, what if it took a month? Like, would that have been worth it? Could we have all just, like, really locked it down for a month, maybe gotten those numbers so low that could have set a whole different trajectory for the pandemic? so frustrating, bro. And more frustrating than anything is Joe's just never gonna have someone on who can say these points. Except he had Sanjay Gupta on. That's the person I would expect to be able to put some of these very common sense, like, hey, you knucklehead, this is why we do this. This is why we don't do this. But he couldn't even fucking manage that. And now we have Ben Shapiro on, who's gonna do a much better job than Gupta, but in the opposite direction. I mean, Ben Shapiro is probably, well, actually, no, he had the Weinstein brothers on. I was going to say the worst person when it comes to misinformation, but it's close with the Weinstein guy. I don't remember which one. Brett?
In Florida.
And you're not dead?
No.
Unbelievable.
No, it was okay.
I mean, you took the horse dewormer and everything? I thought
did.
that would kill you, too.
You know what's
I mean, you look like a
interesting?
horse now. I don't know what happened.
And then
CNN told me.
Hilarious,
CNN never lies.
Ever.
No.
Ever.
They
I
they
just
were
thought that
very
you were in the
fair
back,
with
like,
their coverage.
you went over to the barn, you're just, like, grabbing some random pills and just...
Well, I can't afford people medicine, so I had to go to a feed store.
Yeah, some people did, bro. Like, and they shit their intestines out. So funny, bro. Ha ha ha.
I knew that.
I'm a millionaire,
when
but some
when you
dumb
see it about
yokels,
yourself, you're like, wow. And you see this concerted effort. This, like, clearly, they've managed this.
Oh, yeah.
They've
No,
thought
the,
about
the
this.
headline was the equivalent of, Joe Rogan just had a swig of liquid used to wash cars.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you're drinking water over
That's just not, that's not a comparison at all.
there. That's liquid we used to wash cars. We use all these things for a variety of purposes. Like, that's,
But meanwhile, in the middle of a pandemic,
But no, it's not like that, because water is used to wash cars. Ivermectin is not used to treat COVID. Like, that's why people have to call Joe Rogan to get the plug on it. Like, so it's not the same thing. Like, yes, we do use water to wash cars and also drink. That is true. We do not. Oh God, I'm only 11
when you
minutes
see
in.
someone I'm not young, I'm 54 years old. And when you see someone who's better in 3 days.
But I never eat French
making
fries.
a video and then tested negative rather 2 days later. I was working out a day after that.
Yeah, you took
Fine.
monoclonal antibodies,
I felt fine.
guy.
I did 10 rounds in the bag 7 days after I tested positive, and I was fine. I was like,
Guess what, bro? If you had gotten vaccinated instead of having to steal someone else's vaccinated antibodies, you might not have even gotten COVID. Imagine that. It might have been some kind of miracle. Toby, we on for tomorrow? The people want to know.
really fine. Like, didn't feel anything.
right, but I've heard, though, that ever since then, Cenk Uyghur can kick your ass. That's what I hear.
That's what I heard.
I
too.
heard
It's
that,
very
yeah.
terrifying. Apparently he's been fighting his whole life.
Wow. That's some scary stuff.
Yeah. Well,
You had to run all the way to Texas just to avoid him. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Your cowardice, sir.
I don't have to run that fast, but I could kind of like speed walk. It's
Cenk is so
it's a strange
embarrassing,
time
bro.
Because I don't know why people are behaving the way they are. Why they are not just actively engaging in conflict, but encouraging it, nonsensical conflict. While people have gotten so tribal that they branched off into these groups that, our group can do no wrong and that group can do no right. And we've abandoned this idea that we're supposed to be all in this together. I thought the pandemic
think so,
was going
huh?
to bring people together. I really did. I thought it was.
Yeah,
gonna
wouldn't that
bring-
have been nice, dude? Wouldn't it have been nice if we'd all, kind of gotten together and said, hey, we gotta beat this virus. We gotta take it pretty seriously. I know it's not like, it looks like it's probably not gonna end our civilization. It's not gonna wipe out, 50% of the human population. That's good. But, maybe another one will come and it will. So let's take this seriously. Let's buckle down. Let's come together, do some patriotic shit for our country. Republican, Democrat, everyone cares about this virus. That'd be awesome, but nope, didn't happen. Instead, we had people comparing themselves to fucking Jewish people under Nazi Germany because they couldn't eat jalapeno poppers, as Hassan would say. No jalapeno equals Auschwitz. Pretty crazy arithmetic going on in some people's heads here.
9/11, and that people are going to recognize, like, hey, this is a threat to all of us, and let's all try to work together and figure this out. And I thought that if people got better, and if people took a certain medication and it helped them, or they had certain lifestyle choices that were
Toby, the
better.
people have questions.
Things like vitamin supplementation and exercise, all these different things that I've always been talking about, that maybe we would look at that and go, hey, we should probably look into this.
Dude, you fucking moron, bro. Ugh. You go on any, like, if you go on the CDC right now, here we go. I'm gonna do it right now. CDC. All right, let's go to healthy living, food safety, overweight and obesity. Wow, look at all this, dude. They're telling you, look at Joe, you should be fucking thrilled, bro. They're telling people how to lose weight and how to, eat better. Obesity prevalence maps. We got Cord 3.0, dude. We got the ECE. This is amazing stuff. All of it. Resources and publications. Holy cow. It's almost like there is information out there about how to eat healthy and how to exercise, and people use their freedom to go eat McDonald's sometimes, and that's probably not good. And maybe we should put more like investment into ending those what do they call them, food deserts, I think they call them, something like that. There are parts of this country where the only food really available, especially if you're low income, is like fast food and junk food, and that's a problem. But there are, what did he just say? We need to start we should look into this.
And it helped them, or they had certain lifestyle choices that were better. Things like vitamin supplementation and exercise, all these different things that I've always been talking about.
Yeah, and so have they.
Maybe we would look at that and go, hey, we should probably look into this.
Yeah, they did. They looked into it. Yep, that's a lot of looking into right here. I would imagine that even though this is actually, in the broad scope, fairly limited. It's like, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tabs. One of them is just kind of data. But I would imagine that a lot more looking into went into making this resource here than Joe Rogan has done over the course of his entire existence. So, yeah, they're looking into it. Maybe you should look into like why wearing a mask is helpful, why limiting interactions would be helpful, social distancing would be helpful. Maybe you should look into that, bud.
Because it seems like there's some people that get hit really hard by this, and there's some people like Aaron Rodgers who just brush it off like it's nothing.
I mean, total shock that Aaron Rodgers, one of the healthiest human beings on planet Earth,
The best fucking quarterbacks alive.
that I can't believe COVID didn't take him down. I mean, he was a 75-year-old man with diabetes, so that's it. So clearly, COVID was going to kill him.
God,
Well,
The amount of hatred for Aaron Rodgers so far outweighs the amount of upset over a member of the Las Vegas Raiders allegedly running a person over at 150 miles an hour, right? Then you got, like, booted from the team the next day. But, like,
okay.
the amount of public outrage is kind
Well,
of...
what do you want? You want people rioting in the streets because a guy ran over somebody? Like, he got fired. What do you want? He's probably gonna like face some kind of legal consequence. That's... People get outraged when it's, when they feel like someone's getting away with something, which Aaron Rodgers did. He lied. That's kind of shitty. He misrepresented the truth at the very least, and for pretty dumb reasons. And now he's out there saying that the woke mob is after him. It's like, relax, dude. People are criticizing you. They don't like what you did. Sorry, you're not free from that.
kind of insane. And again, like every adult in America, now every child in America has had the opportunity to get vaccinated. If you want to get vaccinated, right? I did, you didn't. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. Once everybody's had the opportunity to protect themselves, we're done. But I think this goes to something deeper, which is I think they're kind of two. I used to think there were two types of people with regard to what they thought of human nature. Some people think human nature is good. Some people think human nature is kind of sinful. I think that's still true. But I think there's another distinction that the pandemic really exposed. There are two kinds of people. People who are okay with living with a certain level of risk, and people who just are not, and think that if they...
So dumb, dude. That's the two kind of people. Some people like living with risk. Other people don't. Like, okay. Yeah, I guess there's a spectrum of risk averseness. You know, some people have no risk aversion and they die. Other people have too much risk aversion and they stay inside and never see the sun. And then there's everyone else in between those two somewhere. Yeah, you know, really, really good stuff, Ben. That's a succinct assessment of humanity. I like that.
Delegate all their power to people to make decisions for them, that all risk can be mitigated. And if that means controlling all the people around them, that's totally fine.
That's a good point.
Because it really is,
See, who's being divisive now? You know, he's the one dividing people into a group of people who would rather be safe and people who don't give a fuck about. And this is where it gets muddy, right? Is it's not just about your own safety that you don't care about. You don't really care about other people's safety if you're not willing to take this stuff seriously. You're probably, in fact, you're thinking, hey, I'm Aaron Rodgers. I'm one of the best quarterbacks in the world. I don't need the vaccine. Thank you very much. And then, you know, you sneeze and it blows through your grocery store that you're shopping at and it gets to some old person and they die. And no one will ever know. No one will ever know it was you. The woman won't know. The old woman won't know. The doctors won't trace it back to you. But like, again, I don't care that you're willing to risk your own life because you think the odds are good. It's also about that sense of patriotic duty to your fellow citizen. Like, I don't want to take the risk that I could harm anyone else, even though there's nothing that can prove I did. I'll never get charged for it. I'll never face any kind of actual legal penalty. I just don't really care. It'll probably be fine. Like, that's divisive, bro. That's the division. Like, if you actually cared about coming together, you would say, yeah, I don't really like shots. I don't think I really need this shot for myself, but, well, I looked at the numbers and it seems like this is better for everyone if I get this. And yeah, would it be nice if we didn't have to mandate it and people just cared enough? Yeah, it would, but here we are. People want to be divisive. You have to play that game.
I think all of our society is built on the notion of risk seeking. Right? People who build societies tend to be people who build companies tend to be risk takers and people who are willing to fail. Right? Most people who take a risk in business fail. They don't succeed. Right? There's always the.
Where's the risk if you're Elon Musk? Where's the risk there? In fact, if you're the CEO of any Fortune 500 company, where's your risk? How bad would you have to fuck up for you to actually face any kind of meaningful change in your life? I mean, look at this dude from the H3 podcast, Ryan Kavanaugh, CEO of Triller. This dude has been a consistent fuck up in his life. He has done some bad things, including, allegedly, creating a false sexual deviancy report, or what do they call it? Sexual harassment report against his rival for like a position that he was vying for. He like literally broke into the HR office and like hacked into, not really hacked, just kind of logged into the computer in there and put in a false anonymous tip about this other executive he was working with. I mean, that's the lie that I really hate. It's risk for thee, not for me. That's what Republicans believe. It's like, yeah, risk it, you got to risk it to make it. You've missed a lot of raging, bro. This has been hard to watch. Very hard to watch, especially as someone who really was a Joe Rogan fan. I really was. Nah, it's all good. Dude, don't apologize. I just appreciate you. Like, that's what I want it to be. Like, if you can stop in between calls and it's, part of it, then that's awesome. I want you to think that, I think like, no, you should just not even watch, bro. But yeah, nah, this is, what was I talking? What was he talking about here? Oh, risk. He was saying America was built on risk. As if like risking again, and the whole thing falls apart because it's not just risk for yourself to get COVID, it's risk for transmitting it to someone who would be more vulnerable. So that immediately, the whole risk thing becomes immediately stupid at that point. But I was just pointing out, like, what I had said, what would Elon Musk have? What's his risk? You know, where's the risk for him? Does he have any? How badly would he have to fuck up? What line would he have to cross to face any kind of real consequence for his actions? Or Jeff Bezos, or even lower than that. I took it to pretty much any CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Even when they get like fired in disgrace or whatever, they usually sell off stock options and go live on an island somewhere, like get a job. Or I was talking about the Triller CEO who H3 podcast has a huge beef with right now. I mean, this guy, his career has been nothing but fuck ups and loss of money and scandals and Ponzi schemes, and he's still doing fine. Like, I mean, I think his life is miserable because he just seems like a miserable son of a bitch, but like, you know, that's civically he's doing fine. And that's where I think right as you walked in, I was saying risk for thee, not for me. Like if I took a risk on this stream, right? I quit my job. I put all the money I had towards making this stream the best it can be. I put out ads. I hire editors to do my clips for me. That's a pretty fucking big risk, pretty dumb risk. I'm not doing that. But you know, it's a risk that if I fail, like I'm in a really bad place. I'm not gonna be able to pay my rent. I'm gonna be jobless. I'm gonna have all this money sunk into something that I am never gonna see a return on. Like that's my livelihood. You know, that's a huge risk. But then someone like Elon Musk, he can invent a much more expensive and less efficient way to create tunnels, and he's still a multi-billionaire. You know, like, he can take a risk on something dumb like that and create like a gamer tube that has no practical use, and he's fine. Whereas there's no risk there. Now, I guess the argument would be, well, he already took his risk. You know, he made a lot of money off PayPal and then put it all into electric vehicles, which wasn't a thriving industry at the time. It was a high risk. It's like, okay, fair. Oh no, I was gonna watch that on stream too, the one you had sent me. That's my big question. I think you probably heard me saying it earlier though, like how I want to see Kalinsky like react to this a little, because it's getting ridiculous, dude. Ben Shapiro is just one of the worst people ever, and Joe Rogan is just so chummy with him, dude. They've been joking, laughing, making fun of libs this whole time. It's hard to watch. I think I'm gonna say I need a break from this. It's honestly draining.
So
I don't need to watch this. All right, let's get back into the dirty.
The guy we featured, guys like you or people like me or people like Jeff Bezos, people who build big companies and win. Those are the people who make the covers of magazines or get ripped up on CNN for no reason. But the people who fail, I mean, that's most of the people who try to take a risk. Risk is risky. There's a whole group of people in America who no longer want to take a risk, and they've been sold a lie. I saw a really good piece by Scott Alexander, he used to write for Slate Star Codex before they outed him, and now he runs something called Astral Star Codex, and he was reviewing a book. And the basic thesis of the book is that since the beginning of the 20th century, there's been a big promise made to Americans, and that is there are authorities, and they live in Washington, D.C. or in your city, and they have a big button right here that they can hit that solves all your problems. And if they just hit it hard enough, it's going to solve all your problems. And for a long time, the media kind of went along with that because the media were part of an elite group that agreed with a lot of those ideas.
Wow, dude. Imagine a government that actually like makes people's lives better. What a crazy thought, dude. That's insane. You know, these people once had an idea that a government could improve the lives of its citizens. These madmen. Surely they know that the only people who can improve the lives of others are rampant capitalists, bloodthirsty, soulless, moralless capitalists. That's what the world needs. The market will decide. Fucking moron, dude.
And then the rise of the internet basically shattered that. People could get their own information. You could see through the screen.
I'm not going to be able to play this game, am I?
Didn't exist. And so then the elites in the society had to make a choice. They could either admit that that button never existed and they couldn't smash that button and fix all your problems, which would destroy their power, or they could say it's actually your neighbor. If it weren't for your neighbor, I could hit this button, but your neighbor is in here making me not hit the button. And so you have to hit your neighbor.
What the
This is
fuck?
why it's been so bewildering. So I am...
Who's saying that?
I took the vaccine, my wife took the vaccine, my parents took the vaccine. I have young kids. I have no intention of them taking the vaccine. They're 7, 5, and 1. There's no track record of the vaccine for kids. And the risk to them is below minimal. But you and I can disagree on the vaccine, and I don't care what you do so long as you're not posing a threat to me. And yet there's this whole idea out there that if you don't do what I want you to do, you're going to kill me.
So long as
I'm not worried about it.
So long as you're not posing a threat to me. Isn't not getting vaccinated kind of posing a threat to the community? Community writ large? Come on, Ben. Use those critical thinking skills.
As soon as I was done with that second dose, I'm free and clear. And by the way, I can get a mask if I'm all that worried about it.
By the
but there's
way,
a whole group of people
you're
who
an idiot.
never want to think like that. They want to mask up forever. You're starting to see it morph now. Right?
Well,
It's like we can't give each other flu, so we have to make sure that we mask forever. I'm not doing that.
Well, I think that what you said is very important, that there's a bunch of people that don't like risks in life, period. And then when this came along, all of a sudden everything was a risk.
Right.
And then when they saw other people's actions and choices as being a risk to them, some of the people that I know, that I'm friends with, that I would follow on Twitter, who are riddled with anxiety. Like, I have friends that have real psychological problems. They're comics and nice people in general, but are terrified of everything. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching them completely implode because of the fact that this is a real risk, that getting sick from this disease is a real risk. And so they look at everyone's individual choices as being something that can impact their lives in a negative way. And they're looking at it completely disproportionately.
Yep.
They're not looking at it in a realistic sense, and they're not willing to look at the idea that there's other options. There are treatment options. Like, this is the only time ever in our life where you have to do one thing and you have to ignore all evidence that other things are effective. Monoclonal antibodies are
correct.
radically effective. I took them.
Bro, what are monoclonal antibodies? It's literally like injecting the antibodies of a vaccinated person into yourself post-infection. It's like a rapid vaccine that's less tested. That's probably more dangerous than the vaccine. Like, you fucking moron, dude. We know less about that. You just want to be anti. You just want to divide.
I was better in 24 hours after taking them. I have told a bunch of my friends, including Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers. Like,
Yeah, monoclonal antibodies are good. That's why the vaccine's good too. You fucking idiot. Oh my God.
The news is talking about all this crazy shit with Aaron. What they're not talking about is exactly the same thing they're not talking about with me. He got better really quick.
Yep.
And he got better with a drug that's approved for emergency use authorization. And that's what it is. But if you take that and you're sick, then you don't need a vaccine. And that is driving people fucking crazy because they took the risk to take the vaccine, and they know
monoclonal antibodies are fucking expensive, first of all. Second of all, the vaccine is not emergency use authorized, so why would you not just get that? And then it's like, further, if someone doesn't trust the vaccine, I don't think they should, like, if you don't trust medical science, then you know what? Fuck you. Go take some essential oils. See what that does for you. Like, why do you get to suddenly change into, oh yeah, I want the monoclonal now. I want the emergency use authorization because that's the one that doesn't have the microchips in it. So give me the one without the microchips. Like, no, you fucking knucklehead.
that a certain percentage of people do have an adverse reaction. I don't know what the percentage is because I think VAERS underreports. I think there was a Harvard study that said it was between 1.
Did he just say VAERS underreports? I've never in all my days have I heard something so ridiculous. Oh, that's nasty, bro. Holy shit. Ew. Fucking tick. That's such an insane statement. VAERS underreports. Holy shit, dude. VAERS reports like people's like ball sacks exploding from taking the vaccine, and the least of their problems is underreporting.
1 in 10%
Unbelievable.
underreported. I don't know what that number. I don't know if that's real.
Yeah.
The reality
no, you probably
is
don't, do
that
you?
there's some sort
I don't know.
of
Yo. So I need to soundbite that. Hold on. Oh, that's good stuff. Hold on.
certain percentage of people do have an adverse reaction. I don't know what the percentage is because I think VAERS underreports. I think there was a Harvard study that said it was between 1 and 10% underreported. I don't know what that number. I don't know if that's real. But the reality is that there's some sort.
I don't know if that's real, but the reality is you cannot make that shit up, dude. That's like the perfect Freudian slip I've ever heard in my entire life. I don't know if that's real, but the reality is yeah. Oh god, that's so amazing. Hold on one more time. Oh no, I lost it.
Know what that number. I don't know if that's real. But the reality is that
I don't know if that's real.
there's some sort of.
I'm sorry. I probably think that's a lot funnier than it actually is,
And
but
they're angry if other people.
that's
don't take that
hilarious to
risk.
me.
And then they want to point out that there's also a risk for COVID, and you're fucking up, and you're making a poor choice, and they made a good choice because their choice is to take this approved vaccine, and your choice is to just take your chances with this virus because you're
And let everyone around you take their chances too. Like, let's be honest.
worried about the risk of the vaccine. So people like Keith Olbermann will call you a coward. Like, have you seen these unhinged rants from that fucking maniac?
It's one of the things I think that
Who's
really
the
is
fucking maniac
important to note
here?
also is that when it comes to the risk calculation, most of the people who are really paranoid about COVID are people who live more like me than like you. What I mean by that is you're a guy who's kind of in the fight arena, you do physical conflict, right? You put yourself at physical risk all the time. Most people who are deeply afraid of COVID are people like me. They're in air-conditioned offices, right? They have security. Like, they've spent their whole life in a bubble. And if you spend your whole life in a bubble, then any risk penetrating that bubble looks just unbelievably outsized.
Exactly.
And the human brain is not
This is so
in
silly,
one of those two
dude.
binary categories. And so if COVID goes into the risk category, and then the media just keeps
It is a
20-year-old
risk,
guy
dude.
who's healthy,
It is a risk. Like,
your chances of dying from COVID are extremely low. And by scaring the hell out, trying to control you,
I want some
Not only
new
that, they're
content here.
ignoring some of the signs.
Let's get into CRT. I want some critical race theory. Let's do the greatest
or
hits.
take a
Yeah,
side.
yeah,
But the fuck
yeah.
that. Well, I am very pro-vaccine. This is not a vaccine. This is essentially a gene therapy.
Oh no, dude, it's not. He says it's not a vaccine. It's a vaccine, bro. Oh no, I'm not anti-vaccine. This is not a vaccine, and I'm anti what this is. Like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? Holy shit. Then get the Johnson & Johnson. That one is a traditional vaccine. If you're so, like, you're so full of shit, Joe.
They've changed the term what a vaccine means because of this. You know that, right?
Yeah, no. The mRNA is a relatively new technology compared to the way they used to do vaccine.
He's like, wow, Joe Rogan's lying more than I usually do. I'm gonna have to play this one a little careful. Yeah, I know that. It's relatively new. Like, what, 15, 20 years? Like, it's all relative.
Yes.
It's relatively new, and there's no long-term safety data. It doesn't exist, and we're in the middle of. Obviously, it's important to do something, right? And so we're essentially in the middle.
You know what there also isn't long-term data on? Is actually zero, even like 5-year data on? COVID. What do you say to that, big guy? Like, what if you got COVID? What if in 5 years your heart fucking explodes? What if that's what this disease does? I'll take the 15 plus year studies on mRNA vaccines over zero studies, zero data on the long-term effects of COVID. Fucking moron, dude.
Of an experiment. This is a long-term experiment with people, and we're gonna find out whether it's 5 years.
The roles have reversed now, man. It used to be that, like, at worst, Joe Rogan would let someone like Ben Shapiro go on an unhinged rant and then kind of nod along with it and maybe put a little bit of pushback. But now it's flipped. Like, now Joe Rogan's going on that unhinged rant and Ben Shapiro's just sitting there. Like, I see the little smirk that he has. He's hiding it so well, but I can see beneath the surface of his face there is tension in the smirk muscles that is just exploding right now, because he's like, holy shit, this guy is doing my job for me. I don't have to do anything. I can just crack jokes. Oh man. And now he has the easy role. He doesn't have to spew any kind of nonsense. Joe's doing it all for him. He's the one who gets to nod along now and egg him on a little more.
Years from now or 10 years from now, but if you look at the
Sad state of
majority
affairs,
of
man. Sad state of
FDA-approved
affairs.
drugs, if you look at all of them, like out of the who knows how many thousands of drugs that have been approved, do you know how many have been pulled out once they found out there's adverse side effects after years and years of use? It's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
It's a crazy number. Let's find out what the number is.
Yeah, we need the facts here.
Approved drugs that were, how would you Google this?
Withdrawn.
How would you Google? Yeah, another soundbite, bro. How would you Google this? Hold on, I need that one more time.
How would you Google
Withdrawn.
this? Withdrawn.
How would
after
you
finding
Google it?
adverse. How would you Google
Withdrawn.
this? Withdrawn. After finding adverse effects. I was reading an article about this because the article was a pro-vaccine article, but
Joe's just constantly taking a shit on the toilet, reading articles. That's his life.
You gotta understand.
Sorry, Dane, I can't make it to the fight this weekend. I gotta take a huge shit and read a bunch of articles.
And how these things work. There's a reason why they do these trials over 5-10 years. There's a reason for this. So everybody that's saying, safe and effective, for most people, yes, for most people, safe and effective. So was Vioxx. I have a friend who had a stroke from Vioxx, and he was in his 30s.
Well, again, the notion that it's great for everyone, or that it is.
Okay.
Wow.
There have been 12,787 drug recalls issued by the FDA. On average,
dude.
1,279 drugs are recalled every year.
Okay. So they're doing their job. They're making sure stuff is safe, and if it's not safe, they pull it. I mean, what do you want? Like, no, we can never use any drug unless it's been tested for 30 years. Without a 30-year study, I don't trust it. Like, get the fuck out. Dude, monoclonal antibodies. Mono-fucking-clonal antibodies, Joe. You took that. You don't know the long... That is more like gene therapy. Like, what... What is he doing, dude? Like, I'm so confused.
Understand this. We don't...
Well, when Joe's eyeballs melt into a gelatinous pool and drip down his face, I hope he remembers that he shouldn't have taken those monoclonal antibodies because they didn't realize that 6 years out from taking them, your eyeballs melt. Should have waited for that 30-year study, eh? Hey, Joe. Come on, you're a healthy guy. You could have just wrote it out. You didn't need those monoclonal antibodies. You got a little horse paste. You just, take a few shots of that, do some workouts, hop in the steam room for a bit. You'll be fine. Sweat it out. Come on, bro. You taking all this monoclonal blah 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 blah. Sounds like a bunch of egghead nonsense to me. Sounds like they're trying to get your eyeballs to melt. Fucking moron, dude.
No.
This man deserves nothing but ridicule. I love that he took down that boomer fucking post that I was talking about earlier that I was trying to find. I love that he took that down because I looked in the comments and he was just getting clowned on. There was like a few like check marks who were trying to probably get a space on the podcast and we're like, oh, it's so true, dude. America is full of sissies now because we don't give toddlers firearms, I guess. But everyone else was like, this is such a boomer post. Like my uncle would post something like this, you dummy. You fucking Neanderthal. And he deleted it. That's so funny to me. Just please, everyone make fun of this man. Like, please. That's all he deserves. I wish the news wouldn't even get combative with him, like CNN. I wish they would just make fun of Joe Rogan on CNN. That's it. Not be like he's a danger, not be like, oh, he's problematic. Just be like, this guy is such a fucking knucklehead. Just do whole segments just laughing at him. That's what I want to see.
Well, also, you're seeing people administer it incorrectly all the fucking time, including when they did it to the president. When they jabbed the president, and I said, I don't even think they gave it to him. I was joking around, and everybody's outraged. Joe Rogan is a conspiracy theory. What is he saying? Well, you're supposed to aspirate, you fucks. When you see someone get injected and they just go like that right into his arm, that is an incorrect way of vaccinating the
Joe, buddy, you're not You're not the. You're not that guy. All right, buddy. You're not that guy. You're not here. Don't tell people how to get vaccinations. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Oh, you're supposed to aspirate it first. I've read I read an article that said you're supposed to aspirate it first. It's like, dude, what if for that video, like a lot of the times they had to preload these vaccines. Like that's how I got my vaccine, is that they had already preloaded a certain amount for the day, and at the end of the day, at the end of my girlfriend's shift, they had a bunch left over that would have gone to waste, because once they're activated, you have to either use them within a certain time or they go bad. They need to be kept like extremely cold. Once they're unfrozen, they're only active for a certain amount of time before they become useless. So I would imagine that needle that she didn't aspirate, someone else already did. Like it's a preloaded needle for the vaccine. Someone already flicked them all and got the air out. Like, you're not that guy, bro. Like, stop pretending. I know that this is not the proper way. Like, you don't know what a fucking thing about it. You don't know anything. God,
fucking leader of the free world. Okay, if you're gonna do it to
Fucking
the
leader
leader
of
of
the
the free world, maybe you should pull it back to make sure you didn't hit a goddamn vein, and then push it through, because that's what you're supposed to do. I'm not a doctor. Your wife's a doctor. I'm sure she could tell you the same thing.
I'll ask her about it. But is it
dude, Ben is honestly, this is going so much better than in my possibly wettest dream it could have gone. He is so, look at this little demon face, bro. Holy fuck. Yo. Hold on. This is demon time. I need this one. It's going in the collection. Look at that little fuck. He's so happy. Good for him, honestly. Good for you, Ben.
I mean, you know, you and I are kind of on different sides of the fence politically, but we're not with everything. I'm very pro-police. I'm very pro-military. I'm very pro-Second Amendment. I'm very pro protecting families and people, and I'm very pro-choice. I'm very pro. You know, you gotta. I'm a person of. I believe in nuance, and I'm not a person that's interested in subscribing to tribes and ideologies. But when I look at,
I like to think in like Plato's like secret university of sophistry, or whatever it was, rhetoric. His school of rhetoric, where they treated it like fucking Hogwarts. I can't remember what he called it now. I like to think that they were walking the halls one day and they were talking, we must never let the common folk know of the word nuance, for all the meatheads of the world will use it forevermore to disarm civil society. Like, nuance is the most dangerous word in any rhetoric. Should the common folk ever learn of it, it may be the end of civilization as we know it. That's where my brain always goes. I'm like, what kind of conversations went on in those like secret societies? I like to think nuance was on the table, or whatever the, you know, Greek at the time equivalent was. Because nuance is like it's the ultimate cop out if you're a fucking dumbass. Oh no, I'm not. No, you misunderstand. I'm not dumb. I'm nuanced. No, you're just a fucking idiot. Honestly, there is no such thing as nuance. There's not. Nuance doesn't exist. There are things that are true. There are things that are not true. You think, yes, things can be complex, and that's what people describe as nuance, but it's like nuance gives this like air of, you know, uncertainty, where it's like, well, you know, there's just nuance around the vaccine, and we just, you know, we don't know 10 years out. We haven't done those studies yet, so I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of taking a nuanced take. It's like, well, no, there's like a scientific reality here that the vaccine, whatever risk it may pose, is certainly more understood and less dangerous than the already determined risk of COVID. There's no nuance to be had there. There's just not. Like, nuance is, it's like dark matter. It's like it's out there, but very rarely do we ever actually get to like observe it. Is it ever really there more than just a thought experiment? It's this rare substance in the universe. Nuance. And these fucking morons fling it around like it's gravity, like it's everywhere.
Where we're at right now with this country, with this administration. This is what I said during the election. I said I would vote for Trump before I'd vote for. I didn't wind up voting for either one of them. I voted for Joe Jorgensen. It was just sort of a throw my hands up in the air vote. But I would vote for Trump, I said, because I don't think Biden is there. I think he's having real problems. And I got people messaging me, you're wrong, he stutters. And I'm like, listen, I've seen, I know old people. You do too. You're lying to me. You know what this is. This guy can't talk. Like, it's falling apart.
He's intermittently lucid, right? And that happens a lot when you hit that age.
He's probably on Adderall. Let's be honest. They're probably juicing him up. They're probably doing something when it's important.
I mean, he is just sometimes there, and he's mostly not, and he's losing his train of thought in the middle of press conferences, and he's getting very cranky and cross-fitting with people.
Man.
Yeah, and he's yelling at people who, like, in the space of a week, he went from yelling at Peter Doocy on Fox News for saying that he was paying illegal immigrants, or thinking of paying illegal immigrants, like almost $500,000 per person for the family separation stuff.
At least, see, Ben always has to clarify, you know? Someone else on the Daily Wire, Michael Knowles or whatever, they'll just say it. They don't give a fuck. But like, he'll have to clarify, like, oh, he was thinking about maybe paying them $500,000, you know, like.
Stuff is like, we would never consider that. That's terrible. How could you report that? To his own administration having to walk it back, and then yelling at another reporter for saying that it's bad to pay people.
Did you see Ducey with the press secretary? Did
No,
you see
I missed this one.
Beautiful setup? He said, are you going to pay people that come over to this country legally? And she's like, what? This is the substitute press
Green
secretary.
Trump here, maybe.
Yeah, because Jen Psaki got the COVID. So she's out, and this new lady is in, and she goes, why would we pay people who come over here legally? She goes, and Ducey goes, why would you pay people who come over here illegally? And the thug life glasses come down.
Because they separated them from their children and created lifelong trauma, maybe? Unless I guess you just don't care, right? Like, I mean, Joe, what would you do if, let's say because you didn't get vaccinated, we live in actual, you know, communist China, and because you chose not to get vaccinated, they took your kids from you. I would say that's wrong. I don't think we should live in that America. I don't want someone to come take your kids from you because you're kind of anti-vax. But let's say we lived in that world, and then, you know what, the next president comes in and says, we should never have done that. That was really bad. I want to make this right. I mean, what would you do, Joe? Or let's say we have a government who doesn't give a fuck at all. You got your kids taken, all right, you get them back when you get vaccinated. So Joe, you know, out of desperation, gets vaccinated, gets his kids back. Like, do you think he'll just like take that on the chin? Like, yeah, you know, I should have followed the rules, I guess. Should have followed the laws. I kind of deserved that one, huh? I deserved to have my kids taken away and put in like tinfoil shelters, probably subject to abuse from the guards that were supposed to be protecting them. I'm sure Joe would be perfectly fine with that. He's a good law-abiding citizen, you know. He broke the law, you gotta pay the price. Sometimes you gotta have your kids stolen from you and traumatized. Like, that's the kind of cognitive dissonance required to be a conservative. Like, you can't even get close to thinking about something like that. Yeah, I mean, that's, again, it's just a total lack of care. It's just like, I don't really care about what happened to you. Sorry, you broke the law. Sucks to suck. Now, all right, we can squabble over amounts. No amount of money is gonna pay back for that kind of trauma, but yeah, it is tough when it's like there are so many needs in this country. There are so many other people who probably deserve payouts from the U.S. government. Like, you know, at what point? I don't know. I don't even know what you do. That's such a terrible situation, but it's also completely disingenuous, the framing that I've seen conservatives go with, especially because, as Ben Shapiro had to kind of slip in there as a clarification, it was just a suggestion that was put on the table. It was never like, yes, it was reported on as if like Joe Biden's paying criminal gang members $500,000 to sneak into the country. It's not even close to what it was. Like, it's restitution for harm done that maybe they could even be sued for, you know. I mean, these are even in like international courts. What didn't happen? The payments? Yeah, the payments didn't happen, bro. No, I think it's still on the table possibly, but yeah, no, this was literally, it was a leaked suggestion that was brought up in a meeting. Like, it was, I think Joe Biden actually even came out and said, no, we're not doing that. Like, that would never happen with my administration. They were just talking about that. And Ben Shapiro had to like slip it in there. He's like, yeah, I did see that. There was a, suggestion that was made, but it was about this, like, he just kind of quickly slipped it. He's good at that. He's good at keeping it. That's the lawyer. The lawyer in him really keeps him in the straight and narrow.
Okay, so in any case, he is, he's falling apart. He's in the high 30s, low 40s in approval rating.
But Kamala is lower.
She's at 28%, which I don't even know how that's
so
possible.
bad.
It's wild. Like, they've been hiding her. They've like got her in a closet somewhere, and they just hide her there because every time she comes out, she weird. Like, one of my life aspirations is to play poker with Kamala Harris. I'm not good at poker.
It's kind of funny too. I just put a funny visual in my head. I just see Kamala sitting there, like, looking at her cards, like, ooh, oh boy, I'm all in. That's pretty good, Ben. You got me there.
But she has got to have the best.
See, I don't want to divide America. I can laugh at Ben's jokes when they're occasionally funny. He has a good one now and then. It's you, Ben. It's all you.
Poker tell of all time, right? I mean,
you would never say I'm funny. Never in a million years, because I'm a dirty leftist.
As soon as you ask her, I mean, she makes Hillary Clinton just look charming and personable. It's unbelievable. She's at 28%, and she's missing. She's completely MIA, and people just can't stand her. And so if you're a Democrat and you're looking at 2024, you got to be thinking to yourself, what do we do? And then, if you're a Republican, there's kind of Trump just waiting, biding his time, just waiting.
What do you think happens? That's the worst Trump impression ever.
I know, it's horrible.
You were talking earlier about your impressions.
That was not good. Yeah.
That's his worst one.
That's good.
My Obama's not bad.
Let me hear your Obama.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in America today.
It's not bad.
It's not horrific.
He flopped a little bit.
I have to kind of get into it.
Can I get a glass of water?
Remember that one?
Come on. I will say,
do it.
America.
Do full black voice. Come on.
It's the United States.
Yeah.
Come on, dude. That's not bad. That's pretty good.
Work. They're not great.
What's his best? Oh, his best one is the guy who used to be on MSNBC. Fuck. Can't remember his name now. He was a nut. But yeah, no, Ben did a great impression.
Remember when he drank the Flint water?
Can I get a glass of water? This is not a stunt. I'm actually thirsty.
We were talking about the Kamala Harris thing. Like, who wins? Like, how does that work? Like, if or who takes
if Biden
over?
Plotzes, you mean?
If Biden can't make it, and I don't think he's going to make it.
Yeah,
I don't think he's going to make it in
room
2024.
Yeah.
And if they run him again in 2024, there's no fucking way. There's no way. It's a layup for whoever's on the other side.
The only thing that the Democrats are praying for, really, just on a political level, is they want Trump to come back because he has hide the negatives.
You know what I think it's going to be? I think it's going to be Kamala and Pete Buttigieg. I think that's where they're going to try to push.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
That's a scary future, man. That is a scary future.
right. I think that
he's a really good speaker.
He's very articulate,
handsome guy.
Yeah,
and he checks a lot of the boxes. He's gay
it allows the media to suggest again that anybody who opposes the agenda is anti-gay and anti-black.
Right,
if you have that combined ticket, they've been having trouble with that, right? They keep saying that if you oppose Biden's agenda, it's because you're racist, and it's like that guy is whiter than any person on earth.
Right, but here's the thing: who would be the lead? Would it be her as the president, him as the vice president? Because that's not going to fucking work.
Yeah, I think.
No
it's
chance.
It's hard to say that they're going to supplant her.
Dude, it's so crazy to think about. them actually trying to legitimately run Kamala. Like, oh, someone's got to see that, right? Like, you know, I'm not an operative. I don't run in those circles. I don't know the dynamics of politics and political strategy in Washington, but the numbers don't lie at a certain point. Like, you know, if she was in like the 40%, it's like, all right, you could write that off as like, you know, people just not liking a woman of color or something. You can make that. Ron Kamal on the left might actually win. I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's scary to think about, because the worse she is, the more rabid her defenders are gonna have to get. Like, I mean, we already saw a little bit of the K-Hive, but imagine like the whole media being a K-Hive. Like, they will, anybody who dares step to her from the left is gonna get the full fucking force of the mainstream media against them, all the while egging on people who actually would support that left person. You know, people kind of like Joe Rogan, who were like pro Bernie, you know, the meathead group. They're gonna get totally disgusted by how the one candidate they actually kind of like is getting shit on, and Ben Shapiro is gonna be there with open arms, being like, "Didn't I tell you about the intolerant left? Come to me. We'll, you know, we'll make you feel better." That's fucking scary. God, Kamala 2024, bro. Those are gonna be dark days in America. Real dark days. What I will say about Joe Biden is, like, he's what people wanted after Trump. He's boring for the most part. The worst you can say about him is that he's a doddering old man. That's the worst thing anybody's been able to really. That's all Ben can really say. I mean, they're trying to paint him as some kind of radical leftist. That doesn't really work that well. They're definitely reaching, but they have a very strong argument to call him a doddering old man. But a Kamala race, I don't care if it's against Trump. I don't know who it's going to be against. DeSantis, I know, gets thrown around a lot. It could be Pence. I could definitely see. Whoever the Republican is, Kamala on the other side is going to get fucking ugly real quick. Throw Pete in there too, and holy shit, that's an absolute shitstorm. I don't know, man.
The ticket.
I don't know what
Buttigieg,
what are we gonna do?
Because then what do you?
He's a trans woman, you fucking bigot.
Right, but then he's married to a man, right? Then she's married to a man, so then she's a straight trans woman, right? Isn't
Okay, hold on. Isn't AOC gonna be old? Yeah. Is she? I think so. I think it's the next one, maybe. AOC age. Yeah, no, she should be old enough. Never mind. Nah, she doesn't have enough under her belt yet, unfortunately. I don't think she's got the weight. She needs to become a senator, which I think could happen in the next. She could. I think there's a chance for her to run for Senate in 2024. She could probably take, you know, once she gets there, she can get some like leadership positions in the Senate too. She's on a good trajectory. But that is the problem, and that's a big problem I've had with like Bernie Sanders, to be honest. Is like, bro, you need an heir. Like every good political dynasty needs some kind of heir. Any good movement, like it's gonna move beyond you, you know? Like you're an old man now. You need to like work with somebody and kind of like pass the torch of the project. There needs to be a lineage, like an organization of left-wing politics, and there's just none of that, dude. Absolutely none. That's why people got really sad, including myself, when Nina lost. Like, Nina can get kind of annoying sometimes, but like she's overall good, but she really felt like that last little glimmer of hope. Like if we get Nina in, that's like a good W. You know, get another senator in there, but dude, just couldn't happen. And it just feels like it's dead because it feels like that was it. That she was the last hope for a while now. I don't even know what's next. Like, we don't have any people. We got AOC, I guess, but everyone seems to fucking turn against her at the drop of a pin. Like, she does one thing that is somewhat off color. They're not like 100% what people think she should do, and then suddenly she's enemy of the people #1. No loyalty.
Isn't that how it works?
I don't think so.
That's one thing the right really understands, man. The right understands the importance of loyalty and like fighting for the bigger fight, not losing the smaller battle, like, or willing to lose the smaller battles for the bigger fight. The left gets caught up, dude. They get caught up in like division and ego. Conservatives have none of that, and to their advantage, they're all a bunch of fucking beta cucks who just like want daddy to tell them what to do. And that is very effective strategy, that's a lot of organization when no one's questioning the moves. Like, I'm not saying that that's what I want the left to be. I like that people are a little more like rebellious on the left. People have a little more agency. But at the same time, like, when you're fighting a war, there's not really time for that. You got to pick and choose when you want to really have those divisions. Sometimes they're worthy, and that's what makes us different than the right. Sometimes you do have to say, hey, this is not okay. Like, you got to stand up to like the Clinton empire and the left, like that's just what their project for neoliberalism is not okay. There's no getting along with that, but it's nuanced, right? I don't know if you heard, I went on a whole rant about nuance earlier. Nuance doesn't even really exist.
It depends.
It's like a bad algebra problem.
Yeah, we have to. It's like 2 + 2 is 5. Because math is racist.
It's true. California, man.
I think if you look at her approval rating, I think she might get abducted by UFOs. I think
That's the plan.
They might say and I'm not kidding. If I was her, I would be fucking terrified. I would be legitimately terrified for my life, and I'm not kidding.
Well, I mean, she should certainly be terrified that they're not going to let her run for president. No
They're
question.
not going to let her run for
Honestly,
president.
if I'm the Democrats, I've been saying this since the last election cycle. If I were the Democrats, I'm praying for Michelle. Right? Michelle's very popular.
Michelle Obama?
Yeah, Michelle's very popular.
She could win.
She could win.
She could win.
Right?
100%.
She's cultivated this very kind of crossover, I'm a nice person image. And yeah,
she's very likable.
Yeah,
Like, she's fun.
cultivated that for sure.
I think that's a good move.
I don't think that, but she's cultivated it.
I think that Kamala Harris has got to figure out a way to step out. Like, I think they're going
She
to have
won't,
to
though.
talk.
How could she? How
She
could
has
she?
to. Dude, bro.
What are they gonna do, actually? Cause it's such a tough position. Oh boy, what is this? What? What is it? Why'd you send me that, Toby? I mean, hey, he'd be better than Kamala. There's no chance The Rock would ever run though, too. He doesn't want that fucking life. He's living his best life. What does he want to do with being president?
She just keeps failing up.
She's going to get sick. She's going to get a booster, and the booster's going to wreck her.
You just go missing for 10 days like that.
You're like who?
Like, I don't know.
Who's that guy that's missing?
I don't know.
Yeah, where's he? What's his name?
I heard a rumor.
The guy from California, right?
I don't know what's going on with him.
I don't know either.
Yeah, no one knows.
Anyway,
What are they talking about, dude?
It's yeah, they've got problems on that
Awkward
side of the
turtle,
aisle. And
bro.
the problem for everyone really is that they keep misreading what the mandate is. Right? Like when Biden was elected, he was elected with basically 2 mandates: be dead and don't be radical. And he was dead, but he's also being kind of radical, and Americans are just not into it.
the mandate wasn't be dead because they rolled him out for the debates.
It was be not Trump. It was be barely
Right.
alive. Like be
Right.
barely sentient.
But
Don't make trouble.
He was
and-
pretty good in the first debate.
Yeah,
He's pretty good.
Listen,
like,
I
for
defend
him,
God love me. I defended him against Kamala Harris, who I thought was awful in that first debate when she attacked him as a racist. It was
Yeah.
really dishonest. It just shows you how politicians are, right?
Well,
And
not
now he's the
just-
greatest thing since sliced bread for her, but
yeah,
that's-
not just that, but she said she believed the woman who accused him of sexual assault.
Right, but now she's the vice president, so they're best friends again.
Yeah.
We should definitely believe these people
It's,
and trust them with all of our life decisions.
But that's what's so crazy. It's like they expect you to have a.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the media coverage of Afghanistan helped with that. But yeah, no, it's not because he's too radical, dude. Like, anybody who believes he's too radical would have never supported him in the first place. That's just talking points that the right uses to like kind of like gin up their base. Like, nobody who's on the fence about Biden is like, no, I'm not gonna answer this poll that I don't like him right now because he's just gotten too radical. Like, that's 100% not the case. His mandate was to get things done, but also be not too radical. And he's definitely doing the not too radical part. And I think that is like a lot of libs do like him for that. But then it's also kind of embarrassing that we're reliving the Obama era and people don't, it's not that long ago that people don't remember this, that we have the Senate, we have the House, we have the president, the office of the president. Like, we need to get something done. And this infrastructure bill is just, everyone knows that's such a joke, bro. Like, when you're shooting yourself in the foot, it's not, no one's thinking like, oh wow, he's such a good negotiator for getting this bill done, when there was people fighting against him. They think, wow, this guy can't fucking tie his shoes without Joe Manchin like clenching his butt cheeks while he does it. Yeah, he hasn't negotiated shit. He hasn't like in any earnest attempt to actually get the bill as he wants it passed. It's almost like he doesn't care, which is probably the truth.
Again, until people let go of the core notion that government is going to solve their problems, it's just going to keep bouncing back and forth.
If you don't think government's there to solve your problems, then what is it there for? Like, why? I mean, I guess he would argue as like a quote unquote libertarian that, yeah, you're right, we shouldn't have a government. It should just be corporate autocracy, I guess. You know, whoever wins the game of capitalism the fastest gets to make all the rules. I guess that's the world Ben wants to live in.
Because if you're on the right, you think the federal government's going to solve your problem if Trump is president again.
Right.
And if you're on the left, you think that as long as Biden's in control, federal government's going to solve all your problems. And so we can be as dissatisfied with the system as we want to be on all sides of the aisle. But until we recognize that really we need to stop pretending that these people are capable of solving our problems,
Then what do we do, Ben?
and just they should leave us the hell alone in the main, it's just going to get worse, I
Some people
think.
don't want that, though. Some people
Yeah.
want daddy. They want daddy to come along. I mean, this is what wasn't it Benjamin Franklin that had the quote about people who choose
Surrender
No.
liberty for a
Yeah.
little temporary
See-
security to
see-
surrender liberty.
Yeah.
No, that's just not true, though. Republicans want that. Yeah, they want Daddy Trump. It's a one-man thing. I don't give a fuck who it is. I want someone who wants to use government, use the power vested to them to make the average American citizen's life better. I don't want daddy. I want a government. I want a government that works for its people, of the people, for the people, to preserve the rights of life, liberty, and the right to pursue happiness. That's all I want. That's what I believe in as an American. I don't want a daddy. I don't want Daddy Trump to make everything better and make all the scary libs go away, and all the scary people of color and other cultures, you know, that daddy can take care of them for me. No. I want a functioning government that works for my interests and the interests of my fellow citizens. So fuck you, Joe Rogan, for even coming, like, he's applying this to both sides. I get that, but he's not really applying it to the Trump side. Not really. He's not going to dive deep on that. He's mostly applying it to my side, I guess, which I just don't think is true at all. do some people want the like, yeah, do some people have the hero worship thing? They want, you know, Daddy Fauci, they get his prayer candles and t-shirts, or you know, the Cuomo sexuals back in early 2020. Yeah, some people do, I guess, and that's kind of gross, but I think most people on my side of the aisle just want a government that works for the people. That's it.
More security. Yeah.
I mean, that's literally what you're saying.
Yep. And I think that that's true. I mean, there are polls in Britain right now showing
It's like,
that
again, they use this argument. Tucker does this a lot. Ben does this a lot, where it's like the government is corrupt and only works for the interests of elites in this country. That is why we must remove government and be ruled entirely by the elites of this country. Like, as it is right now, the elites exist because they have corrupted the government to work towards their interests, right? That doesn't mean, okay, well, then we get rid of government. It's like, well, then they don't even have to corrupt the government anymore. They just have free reign at this point. It's just, you know, power over all. It's so, again, is what I would say to any conservative who talks about elites, or like, you know, elites running the government or whatever. Tax the wealthy. Boom, no more elites. If you make $1 over $1 billion, if you make $1 billion and $1, that $1 is going to the government, and any dollar after that is going to the government. That's it. Boom, no more elites.
Love you. And then there's these moms who get super upset that their son is into Ben Shapiro. I have encountered many of these women, these very opinionated, always liberal, college-educated women who are furious that their sons, well, Ben Shapiro says, and they do not hear it. What is it about?
What is he talking? What the fuck is
women
it?
and Ben Shapiro?
Oh
Like,
my
why
God,
is this oil
dude.
in water? What is going on?
What are you talking about, dude? You're just making shit up, bro. Man lives in a fantasy world.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, God, I don't know. I mean, like, I'm telling their sons to, like, get married, lead responsible lives,
Yeah.
go get a job.
I know.
Go,
But it
Like,
resonates
hate
with
black
these boys,
people.
which is fascinating to me.
Well, I'm telling, yeah, in a certain sense, Jordan Peterson and I are coming at it from very different angles. Jordan's coming at it from a kind of spiritual and psychological angle, and I'm coming from it from a very practical angle, like what's going to bring you success in life.
Yeah.
But we're saying the same thing, which is
I am as well, though. I'm saying that.
This is so embarrassing, dude. Oh my
In
God.
an interesting
get your
way
shit
as well.
together. Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, but there are a lot of people out there who feel like. I thought Jordan had a great point on this. So somebody was asking him. They were saying, "Oh, you know, Jordan Peterson, he's speaking just to young, white, disaffected males." And Jordan's like, "Wouldn't you rather that I speak to them than nobody speak to them, or are you just saying that you don't want anybody to speak to them?"
Right.
And-
Exactly.
I mean, that's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
As a society, we sort of have said to young men that we actually don't want you to be responsible. Like, responsibility is, it's somehow connected with toxic masculinity, and maybe you're assuming too much.
Yeah.
It's part of the patriarchy, and I think that's bullshit. I mean, I think that one of the chief obligations in life for a young man is to become a provider, is to become a protector of their family. Like, the way that I judge masculinity, and maybe it's self-serving, is not by how many push-ups you can do, but by how you provide for your wife, how you provide for your children, what are you doing for your community, right? These should be pretty simple things,
Yes.
but people get like,
I think that's not any. He's painting such broad strokes here because he's trying to, you know, essentially gloss over the parts that people would actually have objections to. Nothing he's saying there is objectionable. Where the conflict comes in is like how you define those things. Like, what does it mean to provide for your family? Does that mean you have to be the one who gets a job, and if you're not, you're a failure of a man? Like, if you allow your wife to work, does that emasculate you? Now, he would probably say, yeah. I think a lot of people on the left would say no. Like, if you take care of your family, however you provide that, whether it's through working or through staying home with the kids, because someone has to, that's okay. And it's toxic masculinity to say it's not. So it's very easy to say, like, yeah, I'm just saying men should be good and do good things that help people. Okay, well, what are those good things, and who should they be helping, and how, and what does it actually mean to help in modern society, like in the very atomized society that we have?
Super pissed when you talk about that because you're speaking up against the notion that I guess the chief and core of all human aspiration ought to be your individual identity.
Yeah.
That, like, if you just are solipsistically looking.
Wait, what happened to rugged individualism, Ben? I thought this was a country for individuals. What's this collectivist nonsense? Is Ben Shapiro a communist?
How do I feel?
Do you work for China?
What do I feel about myself and my identity? That's actually a really bad way to live your life. And I think that that's seen sometimes as, if I'm trying to kind of steel man my opponents, that's seen as unempathetic. Right? It's unempathetic because what I really should be focused on is how do you make people feel the most authentically them that they can feel? And my answer is my definition of what a healthy human identity constitutes, I think, is fundamentally different from a lot of people who oppose me. I don't think that
So you should enforce your view of the world on everyone else, is what you're saying.
human identity is, in chief, just your feeling of internal subjective authenticity about what you're doing today. I don't think that it's all about your feelings. I think that it's very much about how you interact with society. It's about the things that you do. What kind of accomplishments are you taking part in? How are you building your community? How are you innovating? What kind of risks are you taking? What kind of
So you get to ask all these questions and decide if the answer's correct or incorrect. That's what you're saying, Ben? Fucking communist.
obligations are you undergoing? And once you do that, then people see that as judgmental, because we're in a society where the thing you're supposed to care most about is what you feel here, and then if everybody else accepts that, right? We're supposed to be a society that's chiefly built on us all accepting our own internal self-definition. And I'm saying there's an objective reality out there, and it's unpretty. That objective reality is filled with things you're not going to like. And then the question is, how do you deal with that objective reality while acknowledging that no one has the utopian capacity to magically wave a wand and fix all those problems?
Well, there's also the issue. Look, I think your feelings are important, but I also think that people have a tendency towards self-indulgence. And if you deny that tendency, if you ignore that fact, you're going to create a bunch of people that think that the world does revolve around every single nuanced feeling that they have.
Oh my God, could you have more accurately described yourself, Joe? Jesus Christ.
Also, there's this rejection of responsibility and discipline. And there's equation. They're equating discipline with not just toxic masculinity, but cruelty.
I have no problem with discipline. Obviously, discipline can be a very good thing. What I have a problem with is when discipline is applied as some kind of cure-all to the ails of society. That all the problems in society are just, oh no, people lack discipline. That's not a solution or an answer. You can be as disciplined as you want. Do I believe in leprechauns? Yeah, sure, bro. Of course. You don't? They live on the other side of the flat earth. The upside down. That's where the leprechauns live. I've been there. Joe Rogan believes in leprechauns. It's not aliens, bro. It's the leprechauns.
You're cruel if you impose discipline or if you encourage discipline. And I say
Exist in the astral plane? Is that what you're talking about? I can rock with that. I like that metaphysical framework. That is, yeah, that's where they exist. They exist in our mind, and our mind is a place. Powerful stuff. It's true. True that. The fifth dimension. The dreamscape.
I follow Jocko Willink's advice. Discipline equals freedom. And I think that's real.
That sounds very similar to some fucking George Orwell shit, bro. Discipline is freedom. Slavery is free. Slaves are very disciplined. You got to be disciplined if you're a slave. So slavery is freedom. Joe Rogan, 2021. Great stuff, dude. I love to see it.
And I think that if you can figure out a way to work hard.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at before we got talking about extraplanar dimensions. Discipline's good. It's not a bad thing, but it's also not a cure-all. It's not freedom. Like, just because if you live under oppression, do you think a graboid could tip over a 25 truck? Yeah, I think so. That sounds right. 26 tons, you're getting, I don't know if they could do that. It depends. It'd have to be an experienced graboid.
You will feel satisfaction from the results of that work. It makes you feel better. For a society that's so concerned with feelings, you should be looking at all the different ways that the life that you choose affects the way you feel about things. And if you have really accomplished goals and actually exerted discipline, done things that were difficult to do that you didn't necessarily want to do, but you knew had long-term benefits, that is a part of being like an actualized human. That's a part of being a man. It's a part of being a woman. It's a part of being a person who accomplishes things in life. And people don't want to hear that sometimes because they want to hear
advice.
That you've done enough. You're amazing. You're a winner. You're a perfect person. You don't need to work harder. People need to accept you, and we need the government to step in and fill in all the holes.
I think there's a vast canyon of difference between you're perfect the way you are and you don't deserve to die in the street. I think there's a wide gap there, you know? Like, you can say that human life has an inherent value, even the worst people. And I don't even just, I mean, maybe if you're like taking other people's lives, then you kind of lose value to your life. But Jack and Daxter, bro, I'm PC Master Race, dog. I don't play PlayStation games. Are you fucking kidding me? Get that degeneracy out of my chat. So yes, I do think it deserves the hate.
Fill in all the blanks. And this income inequality idea, like there's an.
If you want me to answer another question, bro, you're gonna have to throw me a follow. Like, I'm sorry. At a certain point, the question answering doesn't come free. Although it is free to follow, so you know, feel free to just smash that button.
There's a fucking effort inequality problem in this country. Some people don't put forth as much effort. Does that mean that everybody should work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week? No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that. But it does mean that you probably can do more. You can probably work harder or think harder. And if you do that, you will be rewarded with success. Not always, because there's a lot of complications to life and you got to figure your way through these things, and a lot of times you're going to try things and fail. And this is what we were talking about earlier when it comes to risk.
Yep. No, I was just thinking the risk kind of throwback to the conversation, because I was talking to some students recently and I was saying that
I agree that it's a problem with risk. The problem is that the risk reward deal, the social contract that we've supposedly had under capitalism, has been completely broken. The idea is that, okay, yeah, people who run companies, people who invest in companies, capitalists, people who have large amounts of capital to invest, they don't have to work as hard. They don't have as much labor, let's say. You can still say they work. They still have to manage a lot of things. But they don't have to invest their labor because they're taking all of the risk. It's their capital that they're putting up for risk. Now, the problem has come well, I didn't get to the other side of the deal, was that if you're a laborer, you're not supposed to be at risk. You're supposed to be taken care of. If you are dedicating your labor, the risk is supposed to be minimal for you. You're supposed to be, if the company goes tails up, it's the investors whose risk comes home to roost. They're the ones who have to take the fall for it, and the workers get paid out and get made whole. Now, that's almost never actually been the case in this country, but it's gotten worse than it's ever been, to the point where it's like these so-called risk takers, the people who are leveraging all the capital, have brought us to financial ruin twice now, once in 2008 and then again in, poor reaction to COVID. And they have faced they've had to deal with none of that risk. They get made whole. They get subsidies from the government. They get taxpayer money to make sure that their companies that have become too big to fail, quote unquote, don't fail. And that's fucked up. That's where the risk has gone awry. It's not that the average person doesn't want to take risk. It's that they shouldn't have to. If you just want to be a laborer, on the Gage Grosskreutz testimony, I didn't catch that. Is this from the Rittenhouse trial? I haven't really followed it too much. I just saw him crying like a little bitch.